The centerpiece sat on a round table near the garden entrance, wrapped in linen the color of old cream. My mother-in-law had insisted on that table. She said the light hit it better there. I didn't argue. It was one of the few things I let go that weekend. The dress had taken 4 months. Not off the rack, not altered. Built. My aunt had commissioned it from a woman in Charleston who did custom bridal couture, a woman who had a 3-year wait list and only took referrals. My aunt had called in a favor from a college friend, explained the situation, sent measurements, and 6 weeks later, a woman named Celeste had called me personally to discuss the vision. We talked for 40 minutes. She remembered everything. When the dress arrived, it fit like it had grown around me. It cost $3,400. My aunt paid for it herself, without telling me until it was done, she said, and I can still hear her saying this. Every woman deserves to wear something that was made only for her one time in her life. I had been careful with it all morning. The party was at my in-laws' house, a sprawling craftsman in Decatur with a wraparound porch and more square footage than one retired couple needed. My mother-in-law, who I will call exactly what I called her, nothing, because we were not at a first-name basis and Mom had never felt right, had offered to host. My husband, Elliot, said it would mean a lot to her. The baby shower was her first grandchild. I said yes because I was 31 and pregnant and trying very hard to be the kind of person who says yes. 50 people came. Colleagues of Elliot's mother, church friends, 3 of my own friends who drove from Nashville, my aunt who flew in from Tampa specifically for this. My own mother had passed 4 years prior. My aunt was the closest thing I had left to her, and she had shown up with a garment bag and flowers and no expectation of anything in return. Elliot's sister, I'll call her what she was, had driven up from Savannah the night before. She was 28, single, and had recently lost a job she described differently every time someone asked. She had never particularly liked me. I'd always understood that without anyone confirming it. It was something I felt in the pauses when she looked at me, the half-second delay before she smiled. That morning, she had told me I looked so big already. She said it quietly, standing near the kitchen counter with a mimosa in her hand, and she said it like it was a compliment she'd changed her mind about halfway through delivering. I thanked her. I went to check on the setup outside. The gift table was near the hydrangeas. My aunt had arranged the centerpiece, a custom name banner in sage and ivory, the nursery colors we'd chosen, surrounded by small potted succulents with handwritten tags. It had taken her 2 evenings to put together. I stood there for a moment before the guests arrived and felt something I can only describe as almost everything I had wanted this to look like. Almost the version of the morning I had imagined when I was lying awake at 32 weeks, too uncomfortable to sleep, planning each detail in my head the way you do when you cannot control the larger things, and so you focus on the small ones. Elliot found me standing there. He put his arm around me from behind and rested his chin on my shoulder. "You good?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "I really am." He stayed there for a moment. Then someone called his name from inside and he went. I smoothed the front of the dress and went to greet the first guests coming up the walk. The first 2 hours were good. Better than good. My friends from Nashville had brought a photo book they'd made, candid pictures from the last 10 years, ending with a shot of me at Elliot's cousin's wedding, the summer before I got pregnant, laughing at something off camera. My aunt sat beside me while I opened gifts and wrote down every name and every item in a small notebook so I could write thank you cards later. Elliot circulated, refilled drinks, told a story about the nursery assembly that made everyone laugh. His sister sat at the far end of the porch with her second mimosa and her phone. I noticed her. I kept noticing her, the way you notice something that hasn't done anything yet. Around the 2-hour mark, my aunt went inside to freshen up. I was standing near the gift table talking to one of Elliot's mother's church friends, a sweet woman named whoever she was, when I heard the unmistakable sound of something heavy shifting. Not falling, shifting first. I turned. His sister was standing at the centerpiece table, her phone raised in portrait mode, filming. The banner had been repositioned. Slightly, just slightly, and as I watched her adjust her angle for the shot, her elbow connected with the glass vessel in the center, a tall cylinder filled with white peonies and water, and it went over, not a small spill. The whole thing. Water, flowers, the ribbon-tied card my aunt had spent an hour lettering by hand. All of it, across the tablecloth, running toward the edge, soaking into the gift bags stacked underneath. I was already moving. She looked at the mess. then at her phone, then at me approaching. "Oh no," she said. But she didn't lower the phone. She was still filming. "Please stop recording," I said. "I was just getting content for you," she said. "For like the memories." "Please stop." She lowered it. Slowly. Like it cost her something. "It's just water," she said. "Everything's fine. The gifts underneath are soaked. They're wrapped. It's fine." Elliot was inside. I could see him through the glass door talking to his father. His mother appeared from somewhere to my left with a stack of napkins, began blotting the tablecloth, and said something to her daughter too quietly for me to hear. His sister said, "I barely touched it," and then she walked off toward the drink table. That was it. That was the whole response. I stood there while two of the churchwomen helped me move the wet gift bags to a dry corner of the porch. One of the guests had gotten water on her linen blazer. She said it was fine. I apologized anyway. My aunt came back outside, took one look at my face, and came directly to me. "What happened?" I told her quietly. She looked across the yard at his sister, who was now on her phone again, and her expression did something I had never seen it do before. It went very still. "The banner?" she asked. "It's okay," I said. "It's okay," I said. "It's just wet. It'll dry." "The card?" "The hand-lettered card." My aunt had written our baby's name on it. The name we'd chosen, the name we hadn't told anyone yet except her, because she'd asked and we'd trusted her with it, in calligraphy, inside a small folded card, tied with ribbon. It was wet. The ink had run. My aunt pressed her lips together and nodded once. She picked up the card from where it lay on the table and held it carefully by the corner. "I'll see if it dries," she said. Later, I would replay the next hour in small pieces, the way you process things your brain doesn't fully absorb in real time. Elliot had come out when someone told him what happened. He found me sitting in one of the porch chairs while the party continued around me, my aunt beside me, one of my Nashville friends crouching down to be at eye level. He crouched the same way. "I'm sorry," he said. "I'm really sorry," he said. "I'm really sorry." "Did you talk to her?" He paused. That pause. "She said it was an accident." "She was filming while she knocked it over," I said. "She didn't put the phone down." "She does that," he said. It wasn't a defense. It wasn't not one either. "Elliot." "I know. The ink ran on the card your mom's friend made. The one with the name." He looked down. He rubbed the back of his neck. "I'll talk to her." "Your mother already talked to her. She walked away." He went inside. I watched him go. I don't know exactly what happened in there. I know it wasn't loud. I know his sister came out 20 minutes later with her purse over her shoulder and said goodbye to her mother with a hug that lasted longer than usual, and I know she did not come to where I was sitting, and I know she did not say goodbye to me. His mother came over a few minutes after that. She sat in the chair his sister had vacated. "She feels terrible," she said. I didn't say anything. "She's been going through a hard time." "I know," I said. "She didn't mean for any of this." I looked at her. I thought about the phone still raised while the water spread across the table. I thought about "it's just water" delivered with a shrug before she walked away to refill her mimosa. I thought about the card. I thought about my aunt who had flown from Tampa, who had bought a dress worth more than a month of my first job salary because she wanted me to feel like someone had made something only for me. "Okay," I said. The party ended an hour later. People hugged me, said the right things. My Nashville friends stayed to help clean up. My aunt sat at the kitchen table with the card propped against a glass, waiting to see if it would dry enough to be legible. It didn't. That night, after everyone had gone, after Elliot had finished helping his parents clean up, and we had loaded the car and driven home, and I had hung the dress in the closet and changed into the oversized shirt I slept in, I sat on the edge of the bed with my phone. I had the photos. My friend from Nashville had photographed the whole afternoon on her good camera. She had sent me a shared folder with something like 200 images. I opened it and scrolled through slowly. There was a shot of my aunt arranging the centerpiece before guests arrived. There was one of me opening the photo book, mid-laugh, and Elliot behind me, watching my face with an expression I recognized. There was one of the centerpiece table before. White peonies standing tall, the banner in sage and ivory, the small card in its place. And there, if you looked at the edge of the frame, was his sister. Phone raised. Getting her angle. I didn't send it to anyone. I didn't post it. I saved it to a folder I labeled with the date and nothing else. She texted 3 days later. It was one line, "Sorry about the table thing. Hope everything dried out okay." I read it. I set the phone down. Elliot was in the kitchen. I could hear him moving around, the sound of the cabinet opening and closing. I picked the phone back up. I typed, "Thank you for reaching out." I sent it. I put the phone face down on the nightstand and lay back and stared at the ceiling, my hands resting on my stomach. 33 weeks. The baby moving. That particular 9 p.m. rolling that I had started to expect and look forward to. I thought about the word okay. I thought about how much that word can hold when you use it as a door instead of an answer. The weeks after were quiet. Elliot and I talked about it once, properly on a Sunday morning when we had both slept enough to be calm. I told him what I needed, which was not an apology from his sister. I had the text, I had something, but acknowledgement, that it wasn't nothing, that someone could not watch something fall and continue filming and then say it was an accident and have everyone quietly agree. He heard me. He said, "You're right." Not immediately, but after a moment where I could tell he was actually thinking about it rather than trying to resolve it. "I'm not asking you to end your relationship with her," I said. "I know. I'm asking you to not treat it like it didn't happen." "I won't," he said. I believed him. My aunt called on a Thursday a few weeks out. She was calling about something else, a question about the crib we'd ordered, and then at the end of the conversation she said, almost lightly, "How are you feeling about everything?" I knew what she meant. "I keep thinking about the card," I said. "I'm making another one," she said immediately. "You don't have to." "I know I don't." There was a pause that was comfortable, the kind of pause you can only have with someone who has known you long enough that silence is a form of conversation too. "I want her to have the name written by hand," my aunt said. "That was always the plan. So I'm doing it again." I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. "The peonies died anyway," she added. "They always do after a week. But the name is still the name." I have thought a lot about what I wanted from that afternoon and what I actually got, and the distance between the two. I think a lot of people understand that distance, the gap between the event you planned and the one that happened, the carefully arranged details and the elbow that catches the edge, the flowers and the water. I think what I keep coming back to is this. I held the dress carefully all morning. I moved slowly through the rooms of that house, aware of every door frame, every chair corner. I was careful with the thing that mattered. And it wasn't the dress that got ruined. It was a card. A small, folded card with a name written in ink that ran when the water hit it, and a woman on the other end of a phone who kept filming. I have the photos. I have the image of the peony standing before. I have the one of my aunt's face when she thought no one was looking, turned slightly away from the table, eyes down, composing herself. I saved them all. I haven't done anything with them. I don't think I need to. Some things have a way of being enough just because you kept them. Because you looked at them clearly and didn't pretend the frame showed something other than what it showed. The baby is due in 6 weeks. My aunt is making another card. Elliot has not treated it like it didn't happen. And I am learning, slowly, imperfectly, in the way you learn most things that actually matter, that okay does not always mean fine. Sometimes it means, I see you, I have the photo, I know what I know. And I am still here, and this is still mine. I've thought a lot about what it means to hold something carefully and still have it ruined, not the dress. The dress was fine. I hung it up that night and it was exactly what it had always been. 4 months of someone else's patience, my aunt's generosity, Celeste's craft. None of that disappeared because someone's elbow caught the edge of a table. What got ruined was smaller. A folded card, ink on paper, a name written by hand that bled into nothing when the water hit it. And I keep thinking, the card wasn't even the point. The point was that someone watched it happen and kept filming. That's the thing I come back to. Not the accident. Accidents are real, I believe in them. But the phone still raised. The continued recording. The "it's just water" delivered to my face while the card was still wet on the table. That sequence of choices, made one after another, tells you something. Not about who someone is at their worst, but about who they are when they think the moment doesn't count. I've learned, slowly and not always gracefully, that most of what we call character lives in exactly those moments, the ones that feel small. The ones where no one's formally watching, where there's no consequence obvious enough to shape the behavior. That's where you find out what someone actually thinks of you. Not in the gestures, not in the big occasions, but in whether they put the phone down. She didn't. And I think about that alongside something else. I put it down. I said, please stop recording. I helped move the wet gift bags. I thanked the woman whose blazer got splashed. I sat in that chair on the porch, and I did not make a scene at my own baby shower. Not because I wasn't hurt, but because I had decided. Somewhere before any of this happened. In the way you decide things before you know you'll need them. That I wasn't going to let someone else's choices determine who I was in a room. That took something from me. I won't pretend it didn't. Holding yourself together when what you want to do is fall apart, or fight, or ask out loud in front of 50 people what exactly she thought she was doing, that costs. It is not nothing. But I also think, what would the other version have looked like? What would I have gotten from it, really, besides the brief relief of having said the thing, followed immediately by the weight of having said it in that room, at that moment, in front of my aunt and my friends and every person my mother-in-law had invited to celebrate the baby I was carrying? Some moments, you choose yourself by staying quiet. That's not weakness. That's knowing which battles are yours to win and which ones aren't actually battles at all. They're just tests of whether you can stay standing in your own shoes when someone tries to knock you sideways. My aunt is making another card. Elliot has not pretended it didn't happen. The baby is still coming, 6 weeks out, into a life that is still mine. And I have the photo. I know what the frame shows. Sometimes that's enough. Sometimes keeping the record clearly inside yourself without needing anyone else to validate it is the whole form of justice available to you, and it is enough, because you are enough, and the truth doesn't require an audience to be true.